Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is the pre-webinar presentation. The webinar will start at 3:30. In the meantime, please introduce yourself in the chat box. You can share where you're from and what you're expecting from this session. Firki, in partnership with the British Council, is proud to launch this 5-part series via a learning path of a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Supporting teachers and teacher educators, this series focuses on improving classroom practice and professional development. The fourth webinar under this series is on getting students to communicate in English. Learning and exposure for teachers and educators has been the inspiration behind Firki webinars, and we at Firki attempt to bring relevant and innovative work to your doorstep. You can go through the different webinars or learning paths that are conducted on the Firki webinars page. The link to the same will be pasted in the chat window soon. We believe that an educator's time is valuable, and we want to acknowledge your presence in this session. To this end, we will now be providing our participants with a certificate of attendance. This is made available to participants who attend the entire session, and once you fill the feedback form, you will receive the certificate on your registered email ID. You can now join a Firki webinar on 2 platforms. One is Zoom and the other one is YouTube. YouTube live link will be pasted shortly in the chat window. Now I will take you through a few features on Zoom that you can use to have an engaging and productive session. Over here you can see the mic button. You can click this and unmute yourself whenever needed. Unmute it only if the speaker asks a question from you. Otherwise, you can keep it on mute. You can also share your questions and thoughts in the chat window. I will be here to curate your questions and share them with our speaker. People who are joining us on YouTube can share their comments in the comment section, and that also will be shared with the speaker on Zoom. After the webinar is over, talk to people around you on what you learned today. We remember best when we share our learning with others. Practice the learning from the webinar in your work. You can also watch the recording of the webinar, and resources are also available on the Firki website and the Firki app. We also highly recommend that you attend the next webinar after this. You can sign up on our website to receive updates. Firki recently launched its Teachers of India campaign, an initiative to recognize the contributions of the teaching community towards building a nation of capable learners and leaders. If you are a teacher, we want to celebrate you. Please send in your story on the link visible on your screens. It will shortly be shared in the chat window as well. Hello everyone, welcome to Firki's webinar on getting students to communicate in English. My name is Anu and I work as a course designer with the Firki team. I will help you navigate through the webinar today. We will now watch a short video that will help you get introduced to the Firki website and its features. I request Mansi to kindly play the video.
Sorry, Mansi, but the video is not audible.
We will figure that out in just a minute. Thank you for your patience. In the meanwhile, please feel free to introduce yourself. You can share where you're from and what you do in the chat box. Thank you for sharing, Rita. Hello, Monica. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Neetu. Hi, Ruchi. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Shiva.
In their professional development as well as in their classrooms, and is free of charge and easy to use. In order to access the portal, type firki.co and you will be directed to the Firki website. To register on Firki, fill in a brief registration form. You can also sign in through your Google account. You will have to use your email ID in order to create an account on our website. This account is again free to create and use. Once you create your account and log in with your credentials, you will be directed to the dashboard. The dashboard would have notifications related to your profile, course progress, time spent, and your Firki discussion groups. To access different pedagogical courses, you can click on the courses link on the top left of the screen. The courses page allows you to choose courses based on difficulty level and category. The courses are also available in different regional languages. Feel free to browse the different courses we have in our catalog using the search bar above. Each Firki course is designed using the FITS model that stands for Feel, Imagine, Do, and Share. The Feel section of the course helps you identify your current practices. The Imagine section defines the practices that one should follow to improve teaching and learning outcomes. A detailed description of strategies are highlighted under the Do section that one can implement in the classroom and with their students. At last, the Share section talks about ways in which one can share their learnings with each other. Each course has also a set of reflection questions as part of the assessment section. Along with the course material, each Firki course also contains a learning circle plan and journal pages. A learning circle plan helps the coaches and mentors conducting the offline learning circles to discuss and share learnings from the course. A journal page summarizes the course with important points. We are adding new courses every month, so keep watching this space. Next up, we have the webinars page that is also accessible from the top left of the screen. On this page, you will find information about the upcoming webinars. If you scroll down, you will find a bunch of resources from our older webinars. These resources will include video recordings of the webinar itself, notes from the webinar, the presentation used by our speaker, and other resources on the topic covered. Do feel free to browse this section at your leisure. The final page to look out for is the resources page, also to be found at the top left corner of your screen. This page houses and will house resources from several of our partner organizations such as the British Council, Khan Academy, Storyweaver, Pratham Books, and more. We are in the process of adding to the list, and you can easily filter resources by partners, grades or standard, and the subject of instruction. We hope you find value in using these resources in your practice as teachers and educators. Finally, you can find the Firki app on the Play Store and can access these courses, resources, and webinars through your phone. So download our app and stay connected to teaching and learning on the go.
I hope the video helped you in knowing more about Firki. If you have questions around any of the features highlighted in the video, please write to us at contactfirki@teach4india.org. This link will be posted shortly on the chat window. With that, let's move on to the webinar at hand today. Thank you for taking the time to join us in this discussion. In designing this and other webinars throughout the year, the Firki team is hoping that we can disseminate meaningful knowledge and skill that takes us closer to our goal of improving the quality of education in Indian classrooms. This webinar will be focusing on how we can help our learners feel confident in speaking up and using their English, be it in a physical or online classroom. We look at the importance of creating the right environment, providing support, and giving constructive feedback. Let me now introduce our speaker for today. Becky Ronson is a senior academic manager leading education projects in North and South India. Becky started her career as a teacher of English and she taught in numerous countries and contexts, from Costa Rica to Cambodia. Since joining the British Council in 2011, she has worked with learners, teachers, and teacher educators in Africa and South Asia. She has a particular interest in teacher and learner autonomy, and to this end, she enjoys facilitating self directed professional development for teachers and employing communicative and lexical approaches for learners. Her current professional interests lie in project management and monitoring and evaluation techniques. That brings me to the norms for the webinars for today. Given the large audience that we are expecting today, please keep your video and mic off to reduce stress on the bandwidth. Unmute it only when our speaker asks you to do so. Keep a pen and pencil and paper handy. You can keep typing your questions in the chat box during the session. The presenter will try and address as many of them as possible throughout the webinar. I will also be curating your questions and comments throughout the webinar. Do remember that learning new things is often difficult, but challenge yourself and reflect on your thinking and experiences today. The best way to remember something is to write it down or discuss your learning with someone after the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and it will be available on YouTube and Firki website soon. I'm now at the end of my introduction. Before we go ahead with the webinar, we are going to start with a quick opening activity. We are all going to switch our mics on for 30 seconds and say hello in our mother tongue to the speakers and others present in this call. After the 30 seconds are over, Prerna from my team will put everyone back on mute. So we can start. Just unmute yourself and share hello in your mother tongue.
Hello.
Namaskar.
Namaste.
Namaskar.
Namaste.
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 Namaskar.
Hello, namaste.
Namaste. Hello. Namaste.
Anu, you are on mute.
Thanks, Prerna. Thank you, everyone. I hope that that was fun. And I hope that you continue to have a very interesting evening. Over to our speaker now.
Thank you very much, Anu. Let me just make sure everything is working. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming today. I'm looking forward to this session, and as Anu said, I hope you have pen and paper ready. I hope you have your fingers ready to type in the chat questions and comments as we go through. So I'm going to share my screen now. I hope that is visible to everyone. Just let me know if it's not. Okay. Make a few alterations to my... Okay. Okay, so first of all, let me just say my screen sorted. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for coming. It's lovely to hear so many voices on the welcoming hellos, and some children as well. Fantastic, reaching larger audience.
Sorry, Rebecca, just a quick thing. Along with your screen, we can also see the notes that you have.
Ah, okay, right, okay. Let me just change that. Can you just see the main presentation, or is it still only the notes as well?
It still has the notes for the next slide.
Okay. Let me try again. Can you see this note as well now? Or is it still...
No, now it's just the presentation.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me see if I can... Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so as Anu said, this is one of a series of British Council webinars on the Firki web platform. This is, our series is Teaching in Action, the Learning Path Teaching in Action, and there's a further one in January. I also want to thank you all for taking part in the pre-webinar survey. It was great to see so many responses, and it really helped me to make sure this webinar should meet the needs that you've expressed in that. So one of the things, okay, so today we're going to be talking about getting students communicating in the classroom in English, whether you're teaching them English or another subject. One of the problems we often face in the classroom is students are quite reluctant to speak. So while we might want to see this interaction between pairs of students, often we might get this kind of shy looking at the wall instead. So today I hope to be able to kind of give you some ideas about how we can develop an atmosphere and environment for students which enables them to speak confidently. So in the survey, I asked you why students might be hesitant to speak in English in your classroom. And it was interesting to see the responses we got. So a lot of people were saying there's a lack of practice. Students don't have many opportunities, particularly outside the classroom. Maybe at home they don't have English spoken, they don't have the opportunity to hear it much, and perhaps the only time they hear it or have the chance to use it is at school and in the classroom. Fear of making mistakes was another common one. This was a fear that students felt about being bullied or mocked by their classmates. They're just embarrassed about making mistakes. A lack of confidence was cited by many of you, where students don't feel comfortable or confident to use the language that they have. And the fourth one in the top four was that students don't often have enough language to express themselves. So they might want to say something, but they don't have the language to get that thought across. So 24% of you mentioned the lack of opportunities, 19% of you mentioned a fear of making mistakes, 18% of you were talking about lack of confidence, and 23% of you mentioned this language issue. So for me, I think the language issue, while a real one, is something we can mitigate with the activities we set in our classrooms. Let's not set activities which exceed the level of language that students have. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about fear of making mistakes, lack of confidence, how we can counteract these two. Obviously, in the classroom, we can create lots of opportunities for students to speak. We can give them places to go, particularly online, where they can use English at home. And I'll give you some resources at the end for that. Okay. So, 3 main outcomes for today. I hope by the end of the session, you'll have a better idea about building rapport with your students, making sure this is a positive rapport and how you can actually do that. We'll be talking about scaffolding, how you can use scaffolding to provide confidence to students so that they can achieve tasks in a graded way. And we'll have an opportunity to look at feedback, mistakes, errors and error correction, and how we can give feedback that supports students without damaging their confidence. Okay. For me, this is just a very simple kind of formula that I think about. When, you know, one of the problems we saw earlier is that the motivation sometimes isn't there for students. And I think motivation is a key thing. If students are motivated, they will get involved in the tasks and they will be talking in English regardless of their mistakes. So how do we make them motivated? Now, obviously, a lot of motivation is intrinsic and it comes from the student themselves, but as teachers, we can do a lot. We can make sure that they are interested in the tasks and the topics that we provide in the classroom. We can give them support and we can make sure that they have the confidence to speak. And that involves having the right environment in the classroom. So these 3 ingredients contribute to motivation. So I'm going to talk about confidence and support and how we can really focus on them. Like I say, you are, what interest comes is part of the way you plan your lessons, and it's one of the ways we can build rapport. So how do we create the right environment? Has anyone heard this word before, rapport? If you've heard the word rapport before, can you write a quick definition in the chat? I'm interested to see what you think this means and how it might impact you in your classroom. So in the chat, what is rapport? If you're not comfortable typing, you can think about it and compare your answer with what I say in a minute. Okay, so someone's saying connected to children, for ease of communication, friendly chat, making a connection, close connection or relationship. Okay, fantastic, great answers. Okay, mutual understanding and communication. Okay, brilliant. So when we talk about rapport in the classroom, all of these ideas, bonding, able to talk freely, exactly. It's about relationships between the teacher and the learners. And so these words that you're talking about, bonds, bonding, talking freely, they're all ingredients of a positive rapport with that you have with the learners. So next question, how do you build rapport with your learners? What do you do to create a good positive relationship with your learners? Mutual understanding is a really important one. I definitely agree with that. Okay. Icebreaker activities. Thank you, Ashad, that's nice. So icebreaker activities we often do at the beginning of a course of the year, and it helps them not only get to comfortable with you, but with each other as well. Eye contact, empathy, good relationships. Okay, fantastic. Some of these things you're already ahead of the game because you'll see some of these things in my presentation. So for me, there are 3 ingredients to rapport. Empathy, which is the ability to imagine another person's thoughts, beliefs and feelings. When we're talking in the classroom, we're talking about how the learner is feeling. We understand it's important, what's important to them is important to us as teachers. And also we understand that learning can be a difficult process, and we understand that as teachers, and so that's empathy as well. Authenticity is another key ingredient, being genuine with your students, okay? Making the classroom a place where real communication takes place. You have a real relationship with your students. You see them as individuals rather than just class one. Not acting or pretending, not saying yes, very good if you don't mean it, but being genuine in what you say, in how you behave, and the relationship you have with the learners. And then the final one is respect. Respecting them as individuals, having regard for their wishes, their feelings, their rights, letting them express themselves, letting them express their opinions, and whatever those